Hey, everybody. I'm so
Hi,
glad to
Ellen.
see you all, even if you can't see me. I'm gonna have to, right after this, I'm gonna have to get on it with my tech people and find out what's going on here. So here's my presentation, not so remote community engagement. And really this came about because I was really interested in creating and also being able to enjoy places and spaces among us that really give us a lot of room to talk to each other, rather than simply to be talked at. And so this is pretty loose. We'll spend a lot of time in small group sessions. um, I have some questions to pose, some ideas to share with you about what we're thinking at Bates in terms of how to proceed with meaningful community engaged work, both with our Bonners, but also in our academic community engaged learning program. But then I also want to provide a lot of room for us to share ideas with each other. And my goal coming out of this workshop is to wind up with a Google Doc that is shared amongst all of us, that we can kind of continue beyond this meeting as a place to um, share with each other and be a little less alone in this crazy moment we find ourselves in, where our partners need us more than ever, and yet how to do that in a way that's safe and effective. So does that sound good to everybody? So Rachita, do you want
Yeah.
to switch to the next?
So would you like me to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you could.
Uh,
Okay, so here are some assumptions that we're going forward with, and perhaps when we break into small groups, you'll have other assumptions that might be different, that might be counter to some of the assumptions that we're going forward with here at Bates. But so, I took part in a town hall at Bates yesterday, which made it pretty clear, and I'm sure this is true at all of our institutions. It's just, it may be the case that the best thing to do from a public health point of view is to continue in this remote way for the foreseeable future. But the reality of our financial situation is that we can't afford not to have students back on campus in the fall. And that it's very likely that our institutions won't want our students to leave campus once they come. And it seems equally likely that our partners will want our students to keep their distance. They won't want us there either. And that our partners need us now more than ever, and yet they're beyond stressed out. And they don't have a lot of bandwidth to partner with us in ways that increase their workload or that are burdensome to them. And so we need to be incredibly proactive. And honestly, and I didn't write this down, but I think this is true. I think this is a moment for our civic engagement centers across the network to make a strong argument for the ways in which we are vital, even though our students can't leave campus. And so, we're all just trying to kind of keep up with what's going on in the moment. But I think it's incumbent on us that we think towards the fall in really strong and creative ways. And so those are some of the assumptions that I have in place as I think about this, and I'll be really curious to hear from all of you. And feel free, by the way, to use the chat box to agree, disagree, add your own thoughts about this kind of throughout our hour together. Um,
so Ellen,
so
let me
yeah,
go. Yeah, let me know when you would like me to go.
yeah. So let's
Slide
do the
or
next. Thank you, Rachita. Let's do the next slide. Thank goodness Rachita's with me. And so I thought we could start out by just having a conversation with each other about the very real barriers to remote community engagement that exist on your campus and in your communities. Like, let's just name those things. And so I thought we could, I wanted to give this some good time, so maybe 15 minutes in breakout rooms. And what I thought we could do, in your breakout rooms, if you could, just introduce yourselves and have conversation that way, but also really beginning to name what those barriers are. And perhaps there could be a timekeeper, someone who's just going to keep track of that clock so that, we don't get the dingy thing that says, you've got to come back in 59 seconds and half your group hasn't had a chance to talk. So someone who can just keep an eye on that. And then someone who's willing to report back to the whole group when we come back after 15 minutes. Does that sound good?
Okay.
And so, Rachita, I'm thinking about maybe, are there 40 people on the call? Is that right?
We have about, oh no, actually the registration went up. We have about 58 people right now. So
wow. So maybe we should do like five people per group.
Sure. So
people
I'll create 12 groups for now. Right?
Yeah, great.
61 participants says here. 61.
61.
Oh, now it has gone even. Okay, great.
Wow.
61. Okay, give me 1 minute. I'm going to put you in different groups and I'll send you a reminder then. 12 groups. Okay, here we go. Okay, I think we all are in groups now.
There.
Hi, my name is Sage. I'm a Bonner Scholar at DePauw University, so yeah.
Very good. Nice you two are here together.
Yes, that's why I kind of chuckled when we started the odds. I think we have two of my students are on this call.
So
Barriers.
Both started making plans?
No, I mean, we have broad plans of like, the plan right now is that the students will come back in the fall. We're, as a center, pretty aware that we have to do something different. We're most likely. So we're actually piloting a summer program called the Nonprofit Consulting Corps this summer, which Sage is one of our students for. So we have 18 students who are working with us remotely. We had spent May reaching out to all of our community partners with sort of like a survey form telling them we're trying to figure out remote opportunities to support their mission. And a lot of them said, you know, we can't even think about that. because their service has completely flipped in how they're doing it. But a lot of them did have some projects. So we split them up into sort of 6 subject areas, from like marketing, communication, social media, website, volunteer management, things like that. And then we assign students to work on each project. So this first week has just been training, and then next week they start actual doing the projects and like talking to their partner. And we're hopeful that this might be a structure that works for the fall. So it's a pilot in a lot of ways, thinking of how do we support our partners. But I think the side that is a bigger barrier is how do we engage a lot of students? I think that's probably our biggest barrier, is even if we, so like if we develop remote ways to support our partners, the number of opportunities is going to be significantly less than like, 100 students volunteering at the Humane Society throughout the course of a semester.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where we are too. When we initially put out a call for anything remote for summer, we did not get much of a response at all. The partners we were planning to work with through some of our summer programs already did, most of them were able to work with us to find remote projects to be able to continue the partnership. Some couldn't, and then we were thankfully able to find partners to replace, so that the students we'd already hired, it all kind of worked out for summer. But I'm definitely concerned that, a lot of the organizations found things for us to do. I don't know that it's necessarily the things that they even wanted or needed, but thought, okay, we can be partners here. I also, because they're changing their work a lot, as you mentioned, like a lot of that's flipped. Some of the things that could be done remotely also they're having staff do to be able to keep them on staff and earning a paycheck. So obviously we don't want to take away from any of that. So I don't know. I am worried about finding enough, to your point. I think that's my biggest thing, enough, and it's not going to be the same number of hours, which I feel like is fine, because I don't know, Sage, you might feel differently, but it seems like 2 hours of work remotely trying to figure things out feels a lot more than 2 hours of work. If you were physically there, is that true?
Yeah, so with the end of the semester, I was partnered with a nonprofit, and I've been with them for since the evacuation, I guess. It was like a year and a half, so I've got to know them, and just, it's hard to get like that sort of connection and kind of staying with it, because then finals come along and you're like worried about these exams and this paper, and you would figure it out and get your hours if you were on campus. But when you're here and your nonprofit kind of needs you kind of lose that connection a little bit. But with the situation, they're a little bit understanding, but you kind of feel bad in the sort of way. You're like, I want to maintain this connection with them, but I don't have the means nor the time at all to like do it, but I also have tons of time. Like, it's just an interesting kind of like, it's really just brand new of like how I tried to figure that out. But this whole nonprofit thing that they've started is pretty nice. Kind of just I get paired with a new organization I never worked with, but I also get to do like social media that I've been doing for ever, and so many different organizations and all that kind of stuff. So I take something I'm used to and just kind of take that sort of skill and put it towards other places that need it. So it's been nice, but it's just different. I want to be with my friends. Coming back to campus is going to be completely different than what I'm used to, like as much social distancing, but I'm sure we're college students, we're not going to be following those rules, honestly. So it's just, yeah, a lot, just really different. A lot of people are going to be stressed out, not want to come back to campus. Just, there's a lot going on into it. But yeah,
Hi, Patty, is it?
Yes. Hello.
Hi, I'm from Davidson, Kristen, and I was just saying we've talked about it at Davidson and still don't know what we're doing. Obviously, I don't know that anyone does, but no matter what, on campus or off, like basically Bonner, all of the programs we have in the center, but since Bonner's tied to a program and scholarship and all of that, it certainly has a little bit more of a pressing focus at the moment, but just we'll have to rework it entirely no matter what it does. And I'm not sure we have enough partners with enough work for 80 students. And so gonna have to figure that out a little bit. And then DePaul also is trying something new.
Yeah, we're, so I'm Chelsea. I work at DePaul and Sage is a student at DePaul and a Bonner. We do have some nonners who are in other workshops right now, but we're piloting this program. We developed the nonprofit consulting course. We have 18 students. We've been doing 20 hours of training this week, and then they've each been individually matched with an organization in our county to do some sort of capacity project development. And so that's kind of our hope for something we might be able to bring into the fall semester. But the same barriers, like what's the org capacity? How do we engage a lot of students? I mean, just doing 18 is a lot. So that's one of our concerns. And then also one of my biggest concerns to this is we've already had across the board a pretty significant decline in student volunteers from one year to another. I think that's a trend that's happening, especially DePaul students are so overcommitted, but we're also having smaller class sizes each year for the last 2 years. And so I'm almost concerned about like losing any momentum of the campus culture to service.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to be so far, you know, if we tell our students like you really shouldn't leave campus, then who's going to be the ones who are actively trying to find ways to engage with their community in this sort of roundabout way?
Yeah, and I think, or I'm hopeful that there'll also be more opportunity for flexibility in what students are able to do. Well, I mean, there'll have to be. And so maybe there's some opportunity there, but, and where are you, Patty?
I'm at George Mason University. I'm the director of our Social Action and Integrative Learning Office. And I'm sorry I'm late. I had another meeting just before this, but the question or idea is how we're handling remote community engagement. Yeah. So what I'm finding actually is kind of interesting. We're in the DC area, so Fairfax County has just an abundance of community partners. So that part has actually not been as difficult as I would say. I think we have a lot of partners who have been thinking about remote opportunities or are still taking volunteers, but are just being very strategic about how they do it. What I am struggling with a little bit, and I should say we're a brand new Bonner program, Bonner Leadership Program starting this fall. So we have a very small number of Bonners, but our office serves the entire campus of about 37,000 students. And so the challenge that I have is the administration in some ways is they're kind of treating this as just like an add-on or something that is one of the first to go or one of the first to be kind of less prioritized than other things, and just making the assumption that there's just nothing that we can do, or that service learning is just, or community-based learning is just not possible, so we're just not going to try to do that. And that's been really hard to manage, as we're hearing from community partners that are saying we have needs, we need interns, we need folks that are doing things virtually, we need folks in person, and for the university to kind of make it feel like it's just it's a nice thing for students to do, but not critical to the university mission. So I've been struggling with that.
Has there been any statement yet about whether or not, if students are on campus or in classes physically, they'll be able to
volunteer,
leave for other things? Yeah.
No,
Like,
not yet.
we're-
And they haven't fully announced what we're doing in the fall yet either. I think it should be June 10th is our deadline to share things. So as of right now, they're doing a hybrid approach, but there's going to be about 1,000. There's one plan that has 1,000 students on campus, and the rest virtually, which just seems a little funny to me. I don't know how you pick those 1,000 students, but yeah, no statement as of yet. Have you had that? Have you been told you can't have students off campus?
We haven't. Ellen showed a little slide before we got in breakout rooms that had some of this on there of, even if we're on campus, are they going to tell us that they don't want students to leave, or even events on campus? Like, one of the things I'm worried about in addition to leaving campus is we have 22 students per class, and we're a small campus with not a lot of meeting space, which means we're usually in a pretty tight space. And I think even our Bonner meetings for just a class will exceed our regulations for gatherings. So that's something I'm trying to think through too, but we haven't been told anything yet, but we're anticipating.
Yeah, DePauw released like their plan, but they had the caveat, dependent on like public health status and things. But I do know that our facility staff has gone in and like removed chairs and desks to allow for social distance. So like we have an auditorium, Olin Auditorium, that has like swivel chairs, and it's like built in, and they've gone through and removed room.
Yeah. Rashida, are you going to bring us back?
Yeah, I just sent a message. I was about to type 1 more minute left. I sent a message that did you get a reminder when 5 minutes?
No, we didn't. But so maybe, I think maybe bring us back.
Okay, I'll do that right now. I wonder why that not got displayed. Okay.
All right. Well, it's nice to chat